anger, rage, frustration, pain, just firing off at the last minute. You just feel out of control. That's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome to episode 99 of the Positivity Experience, unboxing anger, what it is, and how to work through it. Check it out. Hey everybody, and welcome back to episode 99 of the Positivity Experience. Oh my God, we're almost at 100. It's your girl Lori. I am super excited to bring you this episode. I'm so excited. A big excitement news. It's like you get episode 98 and 99 at the same time in the same week. And the reason why is I want to start doing little interviews. Sorry if my end is a little echoey in the other episode with Jennifer. I actually did not have my headphones on at the time because I was just really working through a few things with the audio. So it's going to be a little tin canny, but my side is, not her side. And she's actually amazing. She's such an amazing human. And I want to start doing little interviews of people that I love and that I admire. And just really pull inspiration from, and I really think you guys will get a lot out of it. So if you get a chance, it's like an hour and some odd minutes. So go out there and listen to it. It's there for you. I think you'll hear a lot about her. All of her information is there. She's a dynamic human. She does a lot of voices for a lot of things that you may not even know that you know her from. So I highly encourage it. I am welcoming all of the newest Patreon members. I love you guys greatly. Thank you so much for joining. Don't forget, we try to do a giveaway once a month for all of the Patreon subscribers. And over at Patreon today, we are talking about the holidays. We're talking about expectations. We're talking about anger. We're talking about frustration. And it goes right into today's episode. So if you are on Patreon, you're going to actually have 3 podcasts. And if you're on the regular podcast, you're still going to have 2. So I figured, hey, you know what? It's a holiday. I'm grateful. I really wanted to share Jennifer with you guys. I'm just in love with her. I think she's amazing. And I wanted to talk to you today about anger, because it's a huge one for you guys. So you hear me say all the time that anger is based on fear, frustration, and hurt, because it is. Everything that you're mad, I'm over here in like parentheses, about, goes into fear, frustration, and hurt. One or all of those things at the exact same thing. At the exact same time. So that is a thing. And we've talked about anger before, but I feel like with the holidays coming upon us, it's really important because you're going to get that Sunday before Thanksgiving. And I feel like it's really important that you unbox it because your anger is yours and yours alone to process. And this is the biggest thing to understand, right? If you are angry, no one cares, period. That's right. I said it. Your anger is your stuff to process. Don't think because you're angry, somebody is supposed to turn around and apologize, or they're supposed to do all of these things. Now we get into ego. We get into a whole bunch of like different things that come in there. Right? Because you can say, well, they're not doing things the way that I would, or I'm so mad that they didn't say this or they didn't show up. Okay. So now we got to go back to the expectation series. You can always go out to my YouTube as well. Over at the Positivity Experience, I have a whole playlist on the ego death and what ego is and expectations. And I feel like it's so important that you understand and unbox what ego is, because ego will play into anger because you're angry because people aren't, reaching your expectations. They're not meeting what you would do, and they don't have to. Okay. And listen, anger is a basic human emotion, right? Listen, you're not going to be just peaches and love and sunshine every second of the day. You're going to have anger. You're going to have stress. You're going to have anxiety. This, by the way, is all normal. It's a basic part of like survival. It's literally part of your survival skills. And that's fine. But remember, anger is still part of your trauma response of fight, flight, freeze, and even fawn. And actually, especially fawn. And you can sometimes feel it in your body, right? Because the body keeps a score. There's a book on that. Body keeps score. And you can feel it sometimes. You can feel your blood pressure go up. You can feel your heart rate go up. You can feel like your head's going to explode. But let me tell you, you being in prep mode and you being angry and you being defensive and you being combative, you being upset that the world isn't fair. Listen, let me be the first to tell you, the world is not fair. If you're going to get angry about that, you're going to stay angry for the rest of your life. You can only do what you can do. And this is why radical acceptance, which is a DBT skill that I teach with my clients, but radical acceptance is an important part of this because there's some things that are just going to be out of your control. It is what it is. Okay, so what comes into play, right, is when your adrenals, okay, so that's your adrenals, they sit above your little kidneys. And when your adrenals go into fatigue, oh boy, you can tell, because that's the one part of your body that anger lives in. I mean, you can feel it in other areas, but it lives in your adrenals, like hardcore lives in your adrenals. And I think, some people say to me, God, how do you not get mad? Because remember, I lived in that anger. I'm writing an entire chapter or 7 on this exact same topic, different areas. But you can be annoyed to something. You could be rageful. By the way, rage and anger never give you an outcome that you're seeking. No one cares that you're mad. No one cares that you're angry. You are the only human staying up till 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning wondering, why is this person doing this? Why is it not fair? Life in general is not fair. Okay, so you're going to have to understand that. So let's pretend you're driving down the road. Somebody is merging into you, not into you, but into traffic. I don't know. They're screwing it up a little bit. You feel like, oh my God, you're frustrated. You're frustrated. See what I said there? Frustrated. And you're angry. But listen, you don't know. Is the person a new driver? Definitely, I've not been perfect in my driving. I'm not a bad driver. I'm actually a pretty good driver. But especially in the beginning, or even sometimes from now on, I'll be like, oops, sorry, my bad. So you getting mad doesn't change that narrative, right? And so you have to understand that. So you have to understand that there's a lot of personalities that come into that. Number one, entitlement. If you feel entitled that someone owes you something, you're entitled because you had a crappy childhood. By the way, you had a crappy childhood. You're not entitled to anything. You don't have to love it. You don't have to like it. But the reality is, it is what it is. My childhood was crappy. 90% of people's childhood wasn't all that grand. But no one owes you anything because you had that. So you have to be careful of your entitlement, because entitlement will come into play of well, I deserve this. Well, don't they understand? I'm superior. I'm the mother. You have to show up for Thanksgiving. No, you don't. So you have to pump your brakes on the entitlement, because the entitlement will absolutely be a massive trigger of oh my God. And then you feel like it's rude, and you feel like people are, because people don't give you all of the stuff that you feel like you're entitled to, and you're not entitled to that. All right. And you have to understand, if you're not in control of it, and let me be the first person to explain this to you. The only person and thing that you're in control of is you, is your reaction, is how you respond to it. Not your partner, not your mom, not your adult kids. No. You're not in control of that. Not the boss at work. I say this all the time, and it's really important that you get it. If you're at a job and you feel like, oh my God, I'm pulling it all. Nobody else is doing their part. Why is this happening? Da, 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 da. And you and I have a session, right? And I say to you, okay, good. Well, then let's look for a different job for you. And you go, well, why do I have to? Okay, now we go into entitlement. Why do I have to leave? Well, you're the one with the problem. If you are the one with the problem, then yes, you are the one to leave. No one else has to change. No one else has to do the things that you feel as though you're entitled for them to do. Hard pass. Now, you don't have to deal with it. You don't have to cope with it. And that's when you bow out. If you have the problem, yes, you are the one to leave. And I feel like this is so important, because so many people just feel like, well, can I control the environment? No, you cannot. Life is not going to be fair. Why do good things happen to bad people? Don't know. Am I going to sit there and worry about it? I am not, and nor should you. So when you understand that your emotional regulation is solely your responsibility, you don't get to regulate another person's actions or another person's reaction or anything like that. It is all about you. If it's out of your control, then you release it. If it is not serving you, it is not moving the needle, you move it. You leave. Okay? And here's the deal, right? You have to understand that when you refuse to see another person's perspective, again, it goes right back on you. See, you're like, well, this person's doing this and this person's doing that and okay, well, why are we pointing fingers? Are you living your best life for yourself? Are you? Because if you're not, why are we focused on the unfairness? Listen, injustice is going to happen just about everywhere. If you can do something about it, by all means do. Create a bill, take it to Capitol Hill. Let's make a difference. I'm here for it. But some things are going to be completely out of your control. Like your partner may not show you love the way you think that they should. Well, you have two choices there. Don't try to force them to change them. See, expectations is a premeditated way to allow you to be upset and angry. You're premeditating by an expectation. No, you do not carry expectations. Because remember, you have passive aggression, you have open aggression, and then you have assertive aggression. Okay? And so that's just 3 of the ways. But see, remember this, that when you're angry, okay, think about the transference of anger. Okay? So you're looking for your keys. Okay, you're looking all over for the keys. You're running late for a doctor's appointment. You can't seem to find your keys. Oh my God, you have like 2 minutes before you have to leave the door. Your kid hits the front door from school, comes in and goes, hey, do we have anything to eat? And you go, are you serious right now? Can you wait a minute? I'm looking for my keys. Whoa, that's on you, boo. That's a transference of energy of anger. We've all done it, myself included. So let's not pretend like we don't do it. We do. When you're angry about something and you lash out at somebody else, that's your issue. Okay? And so you have to understand that, like, when you get enraged, and I mean full on, out of control, ready to bash somebody's head in, you are stressed, you are angry, destruction, that is all on you. See, I gotta tell you, the angrier you are, the more you complain, the more you go into victim mentality, the less people want to be around you. Your anger, and you're allowed that. Feelings aren't facts, thoughts aren't facts, but you got to process it. You got to process what that fear, that frustration, and that hurt is. You have to process it. It is no one's responsibility that you had a bad childhood. It is no one's responsibility that said thing happened to you. No. They don't have to like bend over backwards for you because here we are. This is just what it is. No. And your adrenals, the stress hormone that floods your system, it creates cortisol. Now we have that extra body fat around our stomach. Our blood pressure goes up. So you're angry. You're angry because somebody didn't do it the way you would. They don't have to. Like, they literally don't have to. And I feel like that's a big part that you need to understand, like, what it is. Because there's going to be people who are passive aggressive, assertive aggressive. Like, there's going to be a bunch of different ways, including yourself, that you're going to present. Just because you communicate your needs doesn't mean that the person that you're communicating it to has to respond the way you want them to. That's right. I said it and I mean it. Because you can communicate it. They may or may not have the emotional maturity to give you that. And if they don't, now it's up to you to make that decision on if you want to stay or if you want to go. Don't sit there and try to wait and get mad and wait and why isn't this person doing this? And if they would just do this, I'd be happy. No, we're not doing the external stuff. No. And, that's the biggest thing is, you get angry. You're the one that like stresses and does all that. And you see everybody else living their quote unquote best life, right? But at the end of the day, yeah, they're allowed to. They don't have to put their life on hold because you're having a bad day. They don't have to put their life on hold because you're angry. No. And see, that goes into your ego and it goes into that entitlement that I was talking about. So this is an important one for you because like when you're sitting there, you don't want to be passive aggressive. Okay. Oh, well, you think you'll show up on time? Because they're never usually on time. Think you'll show up on time? Why are you making these comments? Why are you being passive aggressive? When somebody's being a passive aggressive to you, that's where you say, hey. Well, you don't say, hey. You just say, hey, well, I guess you can say, hey. Just don't be like, hey, Be like, hey, well, what do you mean? Like, what are your intentions in that statement? Literally ask them, what are your intentions? Because if they feel like it's unjust and you're not doing what it is that, they want you to do, now they're going to get angry. Do not sacrifice your peace because somebody else is angry. That's their stuff to process. Yeah. And this is an important one, especially around the holiday. If you don't want to go to the holiday, don't. Please don't. All right, because then it's just going to be a problem. Now you're going to get upset. Now they're going to get upset. Now you're going to hate the holidays. Now you're going to say, and do not allow yourself, and I said this in the Patreon too, do not allow yourself to be like, well, it's easier to go because then I'll have to deal with it. Good, so then they won. Not that we're playing a game, not that we're worrying about who's winning, but they basically did win. Because you would rather not hear them, so it's easier to go. So in turn, you didn't keep your boundary. And then you say, well, they're pushing the boundary. No, they're not. You lowered your boundary. Seriously. And so you have to understand, when you feel frustrated or you feel powerless, your anger kicks in. When you feel threatened, I said feel threatened. You could perceive it as a threat or attack, but that's not how the other person sees it. Okay? So when it comes to like that injustice of being treated unfairly, yes, does it suck? Absolutely. I lived in that anger world for multiple years. I have an entire chapter and like multiples on the anger, on that stress I feel. And anger often goes with entitlement, goes with ego, goes with a lot of different things. So you have to be really careful, like really careful. Yes, express how you feel, but you have to be careful when you're aggressively angry. This is when you're going, you did this and you did that. Stop with the you statements. This is when you start yelling or you start putting somebody down. Let's say you become physical. This is aggression. And then you try to go back and you go, you know what? You hurt me. I'm going to hurt you even harder. You kicked me right in the stomach. I'm going to make sure I can hit you. Hurt you. By the way, that doesn't look bad upon the person who hurt you. It only affects you. So in that aggression, you got to check yourself. You putting somebody down doesn't make you stand up any higher. You dimming somebody's light because you feel hurt does not make your candle brighter. Quite the opposite. If you came up to me and you said, Becky is doing blah, 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 and you start like gossiping, number one, I'm not going to stay around to gossip with you. And number two, you gossiping, I don't care if it's valid or not valid. I'm not going to hear what you're saying because I'm not going to partake in it. And it's only going to make you look worse because I'm going to know that you're talking about her to me. In turn, I'm not going to trust the fact that you're not talking about me to somebody else if I'm not doing what you want me to do. Nope, hard pass. And then you have to be careful of your assertiveness. Okay? So, and this is the thing, like when you become assertive, right? Like it's okay. Okay? If we had to put in order the aggression, the passive, or the assertive anger is probably going to be your best bet. Those are your I statements. I feel angry when I feel this way. Now remember, feelings and thoughts aren't facts. So just because you say how you feel doesn't mean people have to change. Really understand that. I feel angry because you do this. I get angry when you say these things. Okay, I hear you. I'm sorry you feel that way. And you go, no, I want you to change it. Yeah, I know what you want, but the person doesn't have to change. But you can change the role in which they play in your life. So assertive anger isn't bad. Like if we're going to do any of the three, you're going to want to do assertive anger, but you have to understand that just because you're relaying it in a certain way doesn't mean that the person who's hearing it has to change their way of doing things or saying things. But you get to decide. This is the beautiful thing. You get to decide in your heart what you're willing to tolerate. And then you can say, okay, well, I'd love to have this person in my life, but you know, it's just not serving my best and highest good. And that means you may have to distance. And it goes back to what I said before. If you have a hard time at work and you have a problem at work and you feel that, you know, you said something to your boss or you said something to whomever and things aren't changing and you're angry, then you are the one to leave. Don't go into entitlement and be like, well, why do I have to leave? You are the one with the problem. So now we have to talk about passive anger, which is like passive aggression. Okay, so this is where you're internalizing, right? Because you're like, I don't really want to talk to this person about it. So now you're internalizing it. Okay, so now you start holding a grudge. And you're like, oh, I'm going to get even. I'm going to smear their name. And again, you could come up to me and say, this person cheated on you. They did this. They robbed a bank. They did all of these things. And I'm still not going to care what you tell me about that person because they didn't do it to me. I have the emotional maturity, and it's something that I try to teach my clients to have the emotional maturity to understand that just because you got a problem with somebody doesn't mean I have to show some weird sense of loyalty that I can't be friends with this person because you have a problem with them. No. Now we go into entitlement. If this person didn't do dirt to me, I don't need to worry about how they handled themselves with you. And if you have a problem with it, then that goes into you feeling entitled that I need to show some weird sense of loyalty, but the person never did anything to me. So why would I shun a person because they hurt your feelings, but they didn't do anything to me? If you're spreading rumors, okay, if you're stonewalling the person, if you start tearing up their property, if you start, like I said, you start with the whole, well, you know how this person is. Yeah, you know how mom is with this. Or you say it to that person. Now that goes into passiveness. And you have to understand that you avoiding it and you pretending that what you've experienced isn't a thing and you just try to sweep it under the rug, that's passive aggression. That's passive anger, not aggression, but passive anger. So I think it's important that you understand that as we're coming on these holidays, and I only say it because this is going to be here in the States. I know a lot of you listen in different places, and in Canada, you already had your Thanksgiving. In various places, you have other holidays coming up where you would normally spend time with family. Stop it. If people are related to you, they're related to you. It doesn't make them family. You don't have to do the things that are very problematic for you, that feels unsafe to you, that you feel like you're sacrificing your peace. You don't have to. And the people around you don't have to. Because remember, everything I say to you will also pertain to you. There may be people, if you're negative and you're complaining about everything and you're constantly in a space of complaining and victim mentality, there's going to be a lot of people who aren't going to want to be around you, and they're not wrong. You're not wrong, but they're not wrong either. It's they're protecting their peace. So if you're in a space where you're mad because you had a bad childhood, or you're mad because this happened, and you expect, because now we go into entitlement, expectations are entitlement, and you're expecting someone to respond how you would, or because you feel bad, or you're having a bad day that day. Everybody doesn't have to walk on eggshells for you. So if your anger is because of that, now we really have to check ourselves. So as you are understanding that your anger doesn't make it wrong, your anger is like your anger, but it is for you to process. If you have a fear, you can be angry. If you have frustration, you can be angry. If you have hurt, you can be angry. Yeah, it happens. So anger is a normal part of the human emotion, but it is up to you to process it, just like your trauma is up to you to process it. And yes, this is a direct approach because you don't need me to tell you, oh yeah, you're right. For what? You're right for what? If you're not right, there is no right or wrong in the aspect of healing, because just because you would do it a certain way and somebody else doesn't different, it doesn't make them wrong. Okay, so as you're getting angry about it, can you do anything about it? Is it something that you need to distance? And now you have to say, are you angry with the same sister every holiday because she does the same thing, and then you have this expectation that she might change, or this desire? See, you have to accept things for what they are. Stop with the whole expectation that somebody is going to do it the way you would, or you know what, this will be the year that the sister is like a sister. No. She doesn't have to be. Don't fall in love with an idea of how you want something or someone to be. Accept it for what it is and then move forward. If it's not moving the needle forward, then it's not moving the needle forward. Again, if you are the one with the problem, then you are the one to distance. It's called protecting your peace. See, you think somebody's winning, but go ahead and keep being combative, keep being defensive, keep trying to prove your point. Guess who's suffering? You are. You are suffering at 2:00 in the morning. You're sitting there ruminating on it. You're thinking about it. They're not. And they don't have to. So you have to understand that as you process it and you realize, wow, that kind of hurt my feelings. Like, that's not how I would have done it. Daggone. You're allowed those thoughts and feelings. Like I said, that's a normal part of life. But it's when you live in the anger, when you live as though other people are supposed to feel some kind of way because you had it rough or you had it bad. They don't have to. And your job isn't to save the world. Stop trying to make people get therapy. Stop trying to make people change. Stop trying to prevent them from living their life. Even if you see, oh my goodness, they're getting ready to run into a brick wall. They're getting ready to go right off the rails. Let them. Stop it. You have your own life to worry about. And the moment you start overthinking and trying to control another person's narrative, you're going to get frustrated. Guess what? You're going to get angry because you're frustrated, and frustration, hurt, and fear is what compiles and what is a contributing factor to all of your anger. So feel it, process it, communicate it when needed, but don't go into it with an expectation or with an entitlement. And no, nobody has to show up for your Thanksgiving holiday. That's correct. They do not. If they feel uncomfortable, or even if they don't feel uncomfortable and they just want to stay home and watch John Candy in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, that's fine. Stop feeling entitled that they have to spend the holiday with you or the Sunday with you or the Wednesday with you. If they have a right to do what makes them feel good, as do you. So you don't have to go in 745 different explanations as to why is this happening and why is this person saying this and why. Oh my God, you don't have to do that. So remember, if you're going to be angry, we like the assertive anger. I feel angry when you say these things. Okay. And again, that doesn't mean just because you communicated, it's like the love languages. Just because you communicated doesn't mean that everybody goes, oh, okay, I got to do said thing. No, you don't have to do it. You're just making somebody aware. And again, if that relationship or that situation isn't serving you, then you distance from that. You're the one with the issue. You're the one that exits. Or you can stay around and try to prove a point, but then don't get angry. You can get angry, but nobody's going to care that you're angry, that things aren't going in the direction that you want them to. Don't be manipulative with your anger. Don't be, well, if I do this and I stonewall, this is what's going to happen. No. So I want you to check yourself. I want you to understand that your anger is normal. It's natural. There's nothing wrong with you, but you have to process it. And when you feel yourself getting angry, don't let that turn into entitlement or into something that you feel as though people have to walk on eggshells with you. Just because you're having a bad day doesn't mean everybody else has to have a bad day because you are. Just because you're having a bad day doesn't mean everybody has to be extra cautious because you're having a bad day. They may not be, and they don't have to change for you, and vice versa. When you get clear in that, your relationships become stronger, your anger becomes less aggressive, less passive, and more assertive. And you'll be surprised that the relationships that you form by being honest and being open with zero and carrying zero expectations, those are the relationships that matter the most. People are allowed to not change, and you're allowed to say, okay, is this something I can tolerate? If it isn't, then I distance from it. And again, you're the one with the issue. You're the one that exits, vice versa. And so you have to understand that when you're in that space, it will relieve so much of that entitlement and that aggression. You won't be going to bed at 3:00 in the morning going, oh my God, what's wrong with this person? Stop trying to figure out their why. No one owes you their why. Because if somebody tells you their why, they're basically saying, hey, is my why good enough? Hey, do you understand my why? They don't have to explain to you so you feel more comfortable with as to why they're not doing or saying something. That goes into your ego. So you want to be really careful when you allow that ego to shine and when you allow that anger to explode. You feel it, you process it. It's a very, very normal part of the human anatomy, human brain, and human body. Okay. So I want you to be clear in that. And I feel like this is a really good time to tell you this because we're going into the holiday. People may not show up. People may show up after you told them not to show up and all of these things that come into play. And so now's the time. Don't get angry that you feel like somebody is overstepping a boundary. They cannot overstep a boundary that you're holding. Oh, they will try. But don't be the person who says, well, it's easier if I just do it and not have to hear it. Then don't get mad that you lowered your boundary and then blame somebody else for lowering your boundary. Then you're angry about your own actions. See, so that's what I'm saying. It goes into this like round robin. So you want to be really careful of that. So with all that being said, we are going into the holiday week here in the States. I love you guys. I am grateful. I am thankful to every single one of you every single week that you tune in here. I appreciate you. Don't get angry at the world. Your anger isn't going to move the needle. It isn't going to provide any benefit for you. So you process it, you go deeper into like, what is that anger showing you and telling you? What lessons can you learn from it? Really lean into your anger without worrying about somebody else changing their behaviors. If it doesn't serve you, then you just distance from it. So yeah, so that's episode 99 of the Positivity Experience, baby. Don't forget to go back and listen to episode 98 with Jennifer. She's such an amazing human being. I love you guys, and I can't wait to talk to you guys next week. And if you're here in the States, and no matter where you are, happy Thanksgiving. Check it out.